She was born into wealth, raised in privilege, and dismissed by many as just another spoiled heiress. But when Esther Yu, better known as Yu Shuxian, stepped into the brutal spotlight of China's entertainment industry, she did something no one expected. She turned ridicule into power, scandal into fuel, and memes into a career that made her one of the most talked about stars of her generation. From the survival show Youth with You Two, where her unfiltered personality turned her into a viral sensation, to her explosive success in hit dramas like Love Between Fairy and Devil, Esther's rise has been nothing short of extraordinary. But behind the glitter lies a story that critics refuse to let go. Accusations of nepotism, rumors of feuds, whispers of romance, and endless debates about whether she is truly talented or simply untouchable because of her father's fortune, have followed her every step. Her name trends as often for controversy as for success, making her both adored and despised in equal measure. Stay with Criminal Tracks as we reveal the untold truth about Esther Yu, the princess who turned scandal into survival. Esther Yu, born Yu Shuqian in Shanghai in 1995, entered the world with advantages that would later spark as much admiration as criticism. She grew up in comfort, the daughter of a wealthy real estate businessman, and this early security meant that unlike many aspiring entertainers, she never had to worry about how to fund her training or auditions. From a young age, she was surrounded by opportunity, yet that privilege came with its own set of expectations and judgments. To some, her path looked paved with gold. To others, she was simply another rich girl dabbling in show business. Her story, however, would prove to be far more complex. Her family's decision to send her abroad shaped both her education and worldview. She studied in Singapore and later in the United States, experiences that not only broadened her language skills, but also gave her exposure to cultures and performance styles outside of China. When she eventually returned home, she was not just a young woman with wealthy parents, but someone with international polish. She entered the entertainment industry determined to carve out her own name, even if whispers of privilege followed her at every step. Esther began her acting journey in the mid-2000s, landing small parts in television dramas. She first appeared in works like Bordertown Prodigal and Youth, roles that, while modest, gave her a foothold in the competitive Chinese entertainment market. Casting directors often slotted her into characters that mirrored the assumptions about her real life: spoiled, rich, sometimes bratty young women. Ironically, these roles played to her natural charisma and made her memorable, though they also locked her into a stereotype that critics would later accuse her of never breaking free from. Her breakthrough moment, however, didn't come from a scripted drama, but from reality television. In 2020, she joined the survival show Youth with You Two. The program, designed to form a new idol girl group, pitted dozens of young women against each other in a high-stakes contest of talent and popularity. From the very first episodes, Esther stood out, not for being the most polished singer or the most flawless dancer, but for her unfiltered personality. She spoke her mind, reacted with dramatic facial expressions, and displayed a blend of confidence and vulnerability that viewers found addictive. Clips of her witty remarks and meme-worthy antics spread rapidly online. She became the unexpected star of the show, not because of perfect performances, but because she was unforgettable. Audiences divided sharply. Many young fans adored her for being real in an environment where many contestants carefully curated their image. They rallied behind her, turning her into a social media sensation. At the same time, critics derided her as unserious, mocking her dramatic gestures and questioning whether someone with her background truly deserved to compete with those who had trained for years under grueling conditions. She was labeled both a breath of fresh air and a spoiled heiress who had bought her way onto the stage. Yet, regardless of the commentary, one fact was undeniable: she dominated the conversation. As Youth with You Two progressed, Esther rode the wave of public fascination straight to the final lineup. She debuted as a member of the Nine, a girl group that became one of China's hottest musical acts almost overnight. For her, it was validation on a national scale. No longer just the daughter of a tycoon or a supporting actress tucked into minor roles, she was now standing at the forefront of Chinese pop culture. The Nine's success gave her fame, fortune, and a massive platform to amplify her already magnetic presence. But along with fame came the challenges that had shadowed her since childhood. Whispers about her wealthy background grew louder. Netizens questioned whether her placement in the group was due to her charm and popularity, or the quiet hand of family influence. In a society that prizes hard work and sacrifice, Esther's unapologetic enjoyment of luxury made her an easy target. Yet she leaned into her image rather than running from it, embracing the princess persona with humor and self-awareness. By laughing at herself, she often disarmed the very critiques that could have derailed another star's career. Even during her time in the Nine, her individuality remained her greatest strength and her most controversial trait. While some members were remembered for their musical performances, Esther was the one who constantly trended online, whether for her blunt remarks, her interactions with fans, or her extravagant fashion choices. Love her or loathe her, the public could not ignore her. Her early rise shows a paradox that defines her career to this day. On one hand, she was undeniably privileged, benefiting from resources and exposure unavailable to most. On the other, she used that platform in ways no one expected, by being radically herself in an industry obsessed with control. Her charm, mixed with controversy, made her both admired and criticized, a figure impossible to neatly categorize. The girl who once played spoiled characters on screen had now, in a twist of fate, become both the real-life embodiment of that archetype and the star who flipped it into a weapon. This first chapter of Esther Yu's journey sets the stage for everything that followed. The explosive fame, the bitter controversies, and the ongoing debate about whether she is a genuine talent or a product of privilege. What cannot be disputed is that from the beginning, she had an uncanny ability to draw the spotlight and never let it go. When The Nine burst onto the scene in 2020, Esther Yu stood at the heart of the storm. The group was designed to ride the wave of idol mania, and its members instantly became some of the most visible faces in China's entertainment industry. For Esther, it was more than just performing in front of adoring fans. It was proof that her unique brand of charisma could propel her beyond typecasting. Yet this new chapter of her life also magnified every criticism she had ever faced. Fame amplified her magnetism, but it also multiplied her detractors. Within the group, rumors of tension quickly surfaced. Fans speculated that Esther's outspoken personality clashed with the more reserved members. Social media buzzed with supposed evidence of cold shoulders during interviews, awkward silences, and side glances on stage. Whether those moments reflected genuine discord or simply normal group dynamics, the speculation stuck. Netizens accused her of hogging the spotlight and accused her of valuing entertainment over artistry. These whispers were never confirmed, yet they fed into an image of Esther as someone who thrived on attention, regardless of how it came. As the Nine soared in popularity, her distinct persona became both the group's strength and its weakness. While others were praised for vocal performances or dance skills, Esther was the one who consistently trended. Her candid reactions, sharp comments, and playful princess behavior kept her at the center of online discussions. Fans loved her for daring to stand out, but critics claimed she was a distraction from the group's collective talent. The paradox was glaring. Without her, The Nine might not have captured the same level of viral attention, but with her, the group risked being defined by spectacle rather than music. When the Nine eventually disbanded, as idol groups born from survival shows inevitably do, Esther wasted no time pivoting back to acting. She took on roles in high-profile dramas like Moonlight and Love Between Fairy and Devil. These projects became crucial turning points, not only for her career, but also for how she was perceived by the public. Moonlight, a modern romance, showcased her ability to carry a series as a lead actress, while Love Between Fairy and Devil, a fantasy drama, cemented her as a household name. The success of the latter was particularly significant. It was not just popular in China, but also reached audiences abroad, helping Esther build an international fan base. Yet success brought with it another wave of controversy. Viewers who admired her performances argued that she had grown as an actress and could hold her own in complex roles. Others dismissed her work as over the top, accusing her of relying on exaggerated expressions and comedic timing rather than genuine depth. The criticism was harsh, often personal, with detractors suggesting that she was only landing lead roles because of her family's financial influence. Online forums dissected her every move, from her acting choices to her designer wardrobe, and the phrase "born with a golden spoon" became a recurring insult. Accusations of nepotism became one of the most persistent narratives in her career. While no concrete evidence ever emerged proving that her father's fortune directly secured her roles, the assumption lingered in the public consciousness. To some, her talent seemed irrelevant compared to the perception that she had bought her way into stardom. In a culture that prizes hard-earned success stories, Esther's privileged upbringing made her an easy target for resentment. What was overlooked in many of these discussions was the fact that she had leveraged her background not to coast, but to build a career that demanded constant visibility and reinvention. Her relationship with fans was equally complicated. On the one hand, she had a loyal base that adored her authenticity. She often joked about her own reputation as a princess, turning criticism into self-deprecating humor that disarmed many of her opponents. Her interviews frequently went viral because she spoke without the guarded polish typical of celebrities, which made her seem refreshingly genuine. On the other hand, her openness also left her vulnerable. Every slip of the tongue, every bold statement became fodder for heated online debate. Unlike stars who cultivated mystery or silence, Esther leaned into the chaos, and in doing so, became one of the most talked about actresses of her generation. Even her fashion choices sparked debates. Outfits that blended luxury with playful femininity were hailed by some as iconic and derided by others as frivolous. She became a trendsetter, yet also a magnet for accusations of superficiality. This duality mirrored her entire public persona, adored for being fearless, mocked for the very same reason. Behind the spotlight, there were also rumors of personal disputes. Tabloids speculated about tensions with co-stars, suggesting that her blunt personality created friction on set. While none of these stories were ever confirmed, they added fuel to the image of Esther as someone who courted conflict, whether intentionally or not. Romantic rumors followed her as well. She was repeatedly linked to male leads she worked with, but she consistently avoided confirming or denying the speculation. For her, silence often spoke louder than words, letting fans and critics alike project their own narratives onto her personal life. The years between 2021 and 2023 became a defining period. Esther transformed from an idol with meme-worthy moments into a bona fide star with box office pull. Yet every step forward came with backlash. When her dramas performed well, critics claimed the credit belonged to her co-stars or the production team. When her work stumbled, she was accused of being unqualified to lead. She lived in a constant tug of war between adoration and condemnation. The fact that she thrived in that environment speaks to her resilience. It is worth noting that her candor often worked as a defense mechanism. When accused of being too dramatic, she leaned further into her flair for theatrics, embracing the princess persona with pride. By refusing to tone herself down, she turned what many saw as flaws into trademarks. Her brand became clear. Esther Yu was not going to conform to the industry's rigid molds. She would rise or fall on her own terms, even if it meant being misunderstood. This stage of her career highlights the contradictions that make her story so compelling. She was both an idol and an actress, both a star and a lightning rod for criticism. She benefited from privilege, yet refused to hide it, wielding it like armor against those who wanted to tear her down. Whether adored or attacked, she remained impossible to ignore. As her fame expanded beyond China, her reputation as a divisive figure followed. International fans who discovered her through streaming platforms were captivated by her energy, often unaware of the domestic controversies that surrounded her. In this sense, she managed to cultivate two separate images, a beloved star abroad and a polarizing one at home. That duality added another layer to her mystique. By the time the mid-2025s arrived, Esther Yu was no longer just a quirky contestant who made waves on Youth with U2. She was one of the most recognized faces in Chinese entertainment, commanding attention in both music and acting. But the controversies, the accusations of nepotism, the critiques of her style, they remained attached to her name like shadows she could never fully escape. The stage was set for her next chapter, one where success and scandal would intertwine even more tightly, shaping her legacy for years to come. By the time Esther Yu entered the mid-2020s, her position in China's entertainment industry was secure, but her reputation remained a battlefield, no longer defined only by her early reality show antics or idol group fame. She had successfully transitioned into one of the most bankable young actresses in the country. Her name carried weight not just in casting rooms, but also in advertising, fashion, and social media. Brands sought her out for endorsements. Dramas featuring her drew strong ratings, and her image graced billboards from Shanghai to Beijing. Yet every achievement seemed to come with its mirror image, a cloud of criticism, whispers, and speculation that followed wherever she went. Financially, she was in a league of her own. Between her acting fees, lucrative endorsements, and the wealth she inherited from her family's real estate empire, her fortune was estimated to be in the tens of millions. Luxury was not just part of her lifestyle, but part of her public persona. She was photographed in designer clothing, driving high-end cars, and vacationing in destinations that fueled both envy and disdain. To fans, she represented the dream of effortless success, the embodiment of beauty, charm, and financial freedom. To detractors, she was a living symbol of privilege, flaunting a lifestyle that most could never hope to touch. Despite the constant critiques, Esther leaned into the narrative rather than fighting it. She embraced the princess label that had once been hurled at her as an insult. In interviews, she joked about her reputation, often turning online mockery into viral sound bites. Her strategy worked because it transformed her supposed weaknesses into trademarks. Instead of being weighed down by accusations of entitlement, she reframed them into a brand identity that made her unforgettable. This willingness to take ownership of her public image made her both resilient and magnetic, but it also ensured she would never escape controversy entirely. Her career, however, was not defined by scandal alone. As the star of hit dramas, she proved she could draw an audience well beyond the reach of the Nine's former fan base. International streaming platforms introduced her to viewers across Asia and beyond, where her charisma transcended language barriers. Foreign fans often discovered her through fantasy dramas and fell in love with her energy without knowing much about the domestic criticism she endured. This global expansion created a striking duality: adored abroad as a rising icon, dissected at home as a symbol of nepotism and excess. Rumors about her personal life continued to swirl. She was repeatedly linked to male co-stars, often when on-screen chemistry spilled over into speculation about off-screen romance. Yet she remained elusive, never confirming or denying anything directly. This silence created a mystique that fueled gossip, but also protected her from entanglement in damaging scandals. Some tabloids pushed stories of supposed feuds with fellow actresses or production staff, framing her as difficult to work with. Others claimed she demanded special treatment on set, echoing the spoiled image she had never entirely shaken. None of these stories were ever substantiated, but they kept her at the center of headlines. What made Esther Yu's case so unusual was her ability to turn even negative press into momentum. A controversial remark, an awkward moment caught on camera, or an unflattering tabloid story. All of these could have harmed another actress. In Esther's case, they often became memes, trending hashtags, or viral videos that only increased her visibility. It was as if she had developed an immunity to scandal, thriving in the very environment that might have destroyed her peers. This talent for spinning attention into staying power became one of her greatest strengths, ensuring that no matter what people thought of her, they were always talking about her. Yet behind the glitz and viral fame lingered questions about her future. Would she be remembered as a genuine star whose charm redefined Chinese entertainment? Or would her legacy be overshadowed by the narrative of privilege that had trailed her since day one? Critics argued that her wealth insulated her from failure, making her rise less impressive compared to self-made stars. Supporters countered that she had transformed privilege into performance, turning vulnerability, humor, and charisma into tools that money alone could never buy. As of 2025, Esther Yu's career trajectory shows no sign of slowing down. She continues to land leading roles, secure endorsements, and trend on social media with alarming regularity. She embodies the paradox of modern celebrity in China. Loved and hated, authentic yet strategic, untouchable yet constantly scrutinized. Her story illustrates how fame in the digital age is as much about perception as talent, and how one woman armed with wit, wealth, and relentless visibility managed to transform scandal into survival. Whether her legacy will one day tilt toward admiration or disdain remains uncertain. What is clear is that Esther Yu has become one of the most polarizing figures of her generation. To some, she is proof that charisma can outshine even the harshest judgment. To others, she is the heiress who represents everything flawed about the entertainment industry. Either way, she has secured her place as a cultural lightning rod, forever captivating, forever controversial, and impossible to ignore. Esther Yu stands at the crossroads of admiration and resentment, a star who thrives in the very chaos that could have destroyed her. Loved abroad, criticized at home, she has built a career that refuses to fade, no matter how loud the doubts. Her story is more than one of privilege. It is a portrait of survival in an industry that devours the weak. Whether she will be remembered as a fearless icon or a symbol of excess remains to be seen. Subscribe to Criminal Tracks for more untold truths behind Asia's most controversial stars.